Welcome to Eye Contact. I'm Aidan Hanratty, and today I'm talking to Dr. Guy Sallet about his life in ophthalmology. Welcome, Dr. Sallet.
Thank you. Well, it's quite an interesting story because, in fact, it was a bit in my genes. I was destined to be an ophthalmologist as my father was an ophthalmologist. But this was not the only reason. Because as a student in high school, I was very interested in engineering and physics. So I wondered if I would do engineering or medical school. And then I went to the university and did my medical education. And during my studies, I was also very interested in the physics of the heart, cardiology, how the blood flows in the blood vessels, but also did some internships in ophthalmology. What I liked about it was also the physics of the visual optics and also how precious sense our vision is and how great the gratitude is for people getting their vision back, doing surgery and so on. The other thing I liked about ophthalmology is the merging about you have full control over the process the patient is going through, from making the diagnosing to proposing a treatment, doing surgery, seeing in post-op, and in fact have the final result. So it's you work very independently, not as in contact with other specialties in medicine. So this was quite attractive. Later, I was also attracted by the fact that you could do part of your job in private practice, which was also very appealing to me, that you're not completely dependent on a clinic. So in fact, these were the factors that moved me to ophthalmology. During my training in ophthalmology, I was also very attracted and triggered by the technological evolution, because I started my studies in the early 90s when we still didn't have any cell phones. We started with the IT, which was coming up with the digital angiography and so on, and so this was quite interesting. And that's the major reasons why I became an ophthalmologist. The major influences in my career is maybe my father was one of the influences. And in fact, what he told me was quite interesting, because he was an eye doctor from the 60s, 70s, 80s. And so he said, Guy, you should try to go on with ophthalmology in a total different way I did it. He was a comprehensive ophthalmologist, but also did cataract surgery, eyelid surgery, glaucoma surgery, lacrimal sacs. So he was very doing the whole scene. So he also saw that there was some technical evolution. He said, I think you should more and more go to subspecialty. So when we started in the 90s in Belgium, the only downside of our education was that we didn't have a lot of exposure to ocular surgery and to learn ocular surgery. That was why in the beginning I was more and more concentrated on medical retina. So in fact I became a medical retina specialist during my residency. And Professor Delay, or professor in Ghent, was one of the major influences who gave me the capability to start digital angiography as the first in Belgium, and to do ICG angiography. So in the beginning, I did a lot of research on melanoma, macular degeneration, on various retinal diseases, because we hadn't any access to surgery. But it also triggered my interest in clinical studies and in the scientific part of ophthalmology. So that was a good thing, which I had the opportunity to do. The interesting thing is that I also got contacts with South Africa, and at the last year of my residency training, I went for 1 year to University of Pretoria, and there I got a completely other influx. Let's say besides the very nice thing I had there was the social environment I learned a lot of new friends, and I made friendships for life there. But on a medical part, we also had the opportunity suddenly to come in contact with anterior segment surgery. And so I had the opportunity to expand my surgical skills and to be more and more interested in anterior segment surgery. Now, we're talking about 1994. In Belgium, there has not been done one LASIK procedure at that time. So there was a group of distinguished Belgian doctors starting an excimer laser group. Now, I was a resident, and I wanted to be part of this group, which was not easy because I didn't have any name, or there was not well known enough, let's say. But at the end, I had the ability to be part of this group, and through my contacts in South Africa, I learned the LASIK procedure. Because at that time, LASIK was quite popular in South Africa, because it was partly reimbursed by insurance companies. So it was very popular, and I went to Michael Kritzinger and learned a lot on LASIK on his side. And in this way, I started to be the first LASIK surgeon in Belgium, which as a young ophthalmologist boosted my refractive practice. And I think these are the major influences by starting in ophthalmology to become an anterior segment surgeon, and at the end to become a refractive surgeon. Today I don't have a particular person or colleague who I turn to, but being part a member of different society and being a board member of the Belgian Society of Cataract and Refractive, or the European Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery, and being now a president of the Belgian Congress, you come into contact with different leaders in the field and in their different subspecialties. So this triggers your interest in new things. This also is a way in which you can have some advice and a way in which you can have advice on patients who you have trouble with, or where you have some questions about. So that's a very interesting way to expand your knowledge. On the other hand, I started in a solo practice, but little by little our practice grew, and now we're working with 8 ophthalmologists with a staff of 12. And these new and younger ophthalmologists who come into the practice also give us some new influx in and insights in newer things in medicines where we as a student did not have access to. I'm thinking about genetics, about molecular biology, and all these new treatment resources. So I think this is a very interesting way and a very nice interaction, because when you grow in your career, the problem is that besides being the surgical motor of your practice, you also have little by little, a lot of responsibilities considering management, considering regulations and administration. So having newer, younger doctors and having regular staff meetings helps this process to keep updated with the new things in medicines as well. Developing my leadership skills. I don't know if I have any leadership skills, and I leave this more to others to decide about that. But anyway, I think it's a very steady and slowly process. I think you should have kind of a character to be comfortable with leader skills. And this started very soon, even during my residency. I was a board member of the Belgian Society of Residents in Ophthalmology. And in this way, becoming involved in ophthalmology and in organizing congresses, which expanded your leadership skills. I told you about the excimer laser group. I became member up as a last year's resident. I became also a board member of this group and was for 5 years the president of this excimer laser group. So this little influences all made you more and more like a practice manager, becoming and working like a practice manager. So I think these are the way how it expanded. Nowadays, when your practice grow, and we don't have a huge group practice. I told you working with 8 ophthalmologists, with 12 staff members. But in the beginning, I was doing everything, like administration, like looking for new people, staff members, like attracting new ophthalmologists, doing the expenses for financing new buildings and so on. And as the practice grows, I try to be more the responsibility and the motor of this framework in which everyone has its own tasks. And I think this is the next evolution in my management skills, it's a great challenge, let's say. For a young ophthalmologist, I would advise to first become a comprehensive ophthalmologist, to first know the different aspects of the eyes, the different subspecialty in ophthalmology to be exposed to have a good knowledge how the eye works. And then you can go on with subspecialties. The other advice I have for a young ophthalmologist is that you should be triggered by new treatment modalities, new treatment possibilities, and new technology. Because this triggering process and being exposed and being interested in these new things makes that your profession is never going to become a boring profession, but you will be interested in all these kind of treatment modalities for the rest of your life, and ophthalmology will be a great thing to do. Last thing, I think, which is quite different about when we were resident, is the possibilities or the training possibilities you have right now, like with virtual training modules for surgery, like the IC module which is on the market, and either they are different in fact. There's also a very nice platform for learning, because we had our medical library, and now the medical library is on our laptop, so we can go whenever. And what's quite interesting, like the European Society of Cataract and Refractive Surgery has the iLearn platform, which makes it possible to study after hours whenever you want, so without having to go to the library and looking to all these books, these medical books. So I think this is a very nice improvement of technology, which is interested for young ophthalmologists as well.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Pleasure, thank you.
For more information, please visit us at eurotimes.org.